With back to school just around the corner, many families are under more pressure than ever to make important back to school decisions for their families. Chris Newlin, Executive Director of the National Children's Advocacy Center, joins us now to talk more about the issue. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Right now, parents have just a few days to decide between virtual or traditional learning. How does what's happening now amplify the scope of your role in some households?
Well, I think every family is really struggling with what's the right thing to do because all of us are living in a world where we don't know what the future necessarily holds. We have been living for more than 3 months now with the uncertainty of not knowing what's in the future. And that creates a tremendous amount of stress, and it makes it very difficult for people to make good decisions or what feel like good decisions moving forward.
What are some of the concerns that your caseworkers have expressed to you?
I think every situation is a little bit different. In number one, when a lot of this began, there was concern that, there was an expression that we are safer at home or safe at home. Unfortunately, for some children, being at home is not a safe experience for them. That being at home actually puts them at greater risk. So we have real concern that some children who are living in vulnerable, dangerous situations have no outlet for being able to talk about their experience and what's happening to them. And that's one of the reasons that it really says we need to find some way for children to have an outlet when they're living in a dangerous situation such as this.
Have you seen cases of child abuse increase in our communities as stresses of the pandemic continue to rise?
I can tell you that, especially shortly after we went into this, more of a lockdown mode, that the cases we were seeing were more severe cases. We were seeing cases of child abuse that involved significant physical injury to children, some even near death or fatal child abuse. We saw other forms of violence that involved multiple different types of abuse. So it may be neglect and drug abuse and domestic violence all happening. So with the severity of cases was very concerning because people are under stress. And when people are under stress, they're more likely to snap and do things, especially of a violent nature. We didn't see a huge change with child sexual abuse per se, but more so with the physical abuse that can definitely be connected to the stress of coronavirus.
How can we as a community make sure that these children who might have a tough home life don't fall between the cracks during this unprecedented academic year?
I think all of us have to really question the moral responsibility for looking out for the needs and interests of children. If it's someone who's in our family and we have a concern, to be able to express that concern and find an outlet. The role of it, the investigation of child abuse, is not to try to rip kids away from families where they're safe, but it is to try to determine when bad things are happening to children and that children have the right to grow up free from that. So what can we do? If we see something that doesn't make sense, we should say something. And we shouldn't leave it to other people to necessarily do it. If we drive down the street and we see smoke coming from someone's house, it is nothing for us to think about calling 911 and see, hey, I think there's a fire. I see smoke coming. We don't know, but we sure think there's a fire coming from the house. If, however, we drive down the street and we see someone being hit, we may just focus on driving down the road and not want to get involved. Us in a civil society, if we see something that doesn't look right and where we feel like a children's at harm, we should make a report and let the professionals investigate it to determine if something actually has happened.
Anything else that would be important for us to know tonight?
I think that all of us are living in a very difficult time. Never in our lives have we experienced a situation where we are so uncertain what the future looks like. So we have to come together as a community. We have to look out for one another and treat each other and ourselves with a lot of grace and understanding.
Chris Newlin, Executive Director of the National Children's Advocacy Center, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.